And for those of you that may not be able to get a word in edgewise, if it's getting really, a lot of discussion, please use the chat. Sometimes the chat is the best. You get some of the best information and input from that. So I encourage you, just, if you raise your hand, we'll try to call on people. But if you're not getting a word in, by all means, put it there. So let's have some fun.
Okay. All right. So just in terms of recapping where we are, where you've gotten up to, as you know, last Sunday was the last day to get submissions. We actually got a total of 245 submissions, which I thought was quite a lot. We eliminated 54 submissions based on the rules that we had agreed upon. And the rules, just to remind you, were that we agreed that the submissions would not move forward if they included the Arlington House or had any reference to the Arlington House, if they were racially, culturally, ethnically, sexually, or otherwise offensive or insensitive. If we felt they had no connection whatsoever to Arlington, Virginia, they were not going to move forward. And of course, anything that was not an original or a new idea would also not move forward. So we tried very hard to just use those particular criteria in this first round, because we considered ourselves a subcommittee that had been given a very specific mandate. And we wanted everybody on this wider working group to be quite confident that this is all we did. So based on those criteria, we eliminated 54 submissions. And we have put them in the Google Doc or the Google Drive that has been shared with you. You saw them in a subfolder that's called submissions that will not move forward. And please go in and look if you're curious. And I'm glad we did that, because somebody pointed out to us that there was one submission that was there that they didn't understand why it was there. And sure enough, we realized that it actually did not meet that criteria for being eliminated at that first stage. And so it's also important for us to recognize that the submissions that have moved forward, we have 191 submissions now. Some of them are probably submissions that will be eliminated quite quickly. There were even submissions that we as a subgroup were unanimous, would not really go forward for very many reasons. But because it was not one of these very specific reasons, we left them so that the whole panel can look at them. So today we're going to be looking at the 191 remaining submissions, and we're going to have to find a way to narrow them down to a manageable number. And so, Kelly, if you go through the review criteria, then we will know what we want to do today.
Sure. Thanks, Vinay. These are pretty straightforward in terms of what we discussed last time, and pretty self-explanatory, but I'll just run through so they're on top of mind with everyone. In terms of looking at the logos and things to consider, evaluate, if the logo is meaningful and represents Arlington, it's inclusive. And I want to just say, with inclusive, that's a tall order to ask. With everything in a logo, that's asking a big job out of a logo. But more importantly, we don't want it to be exclusive. So I think you can hit as many as you can in the inclusivity, but make sure it is not directly excluding anyone. Timeless, something that is not going to be looked at 10 years, 20 years down the road, that says, oh, they used the Nike swoosh that year, and that was the year that came out. And in terms of our consistency of the brand, it's really representing Arlington values. And a logo, you'll see a lot of the designs coming up are doing a lot of different things, and they may very well represent Arlington, but let's try to keep things clean and simple so that it can stand the test of time and it's easily recognizable. In terms of readability, it's not too complicated that someone has to give it a second thought and really dig into what it is. Scalability is very important, because you'll see this logo on everything from the side of buildings to on the side of a pencil. And so it's really got to be able to hold up well in that area. And also different mediums too. I saw one the other day, like wood burned into a picnic bench. So something that can be represented on a baseball hat or a billboard. And that's something to consider when you're looking at a design. How well, in terms of versatility, again, the usage, and something that was very distinct and represents Arlington, that people will easily recognize it, not just within Arlington, but outside of Arlington. One more thing I did want to go over with you real quickly. As we look at the logos in the subcommittee, the logos did naturally fall into kind of some buckets. And that may very well be because of the suggestions that were given on the website in terms of guidelines, but that's by no means exclusive to these buckets. They were just for thought, but I'll reiterate those again with you. Some of the suggestions were natural features like dogwood, trees, or flowers, the Potomac River, Arlington Cemetery, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, a Roslyn skyline, or any skyline in Arlington. It could be Crystal City. Shapes of the county in terms of map. Symbols of county value, and also symbols of peace, diversity, and freedom. Anything that shows something that our community is forward thinking, and then landmarks such as monuments, skylines, neighborhoods, bridges, and things like that. So as you look forward, you'll see a lot of that represented in the samples, as you already have.
All right.
And I'm going to turn it back to Monet. Oh, actually, sorry, one more thing I forgot to include. When we are going through the, after we have some discussion, we go through the logos, you will be able to use a tool that will be able to eliminate a first blush after we have discussion. So keep that in mind. And when you're seeing logos, keep in mind whether you think, yes, it should go forward, maybe it should go forward, or it definitely should not go forward. So just kind of do a mental checklist of those as we review them and go through them.
Monet and Kelly, would you like Claudia to share the link to the tool that we'll be using? I don't know if she's ready to do that yet, Claudia.
How about after the no, actually go ahead, Claudia, because as I said, maybe after the discussion, but in case someone is making a reference to one, I think that would be helpful.
Sure.
Sure.
So I'm hoping this
if you're able to do it now, if you're able to do it now.
The link is ready. So this is for casual voting. If you already reviewed the artwork and you have your opinions, or if you want to vote as you go, this is here. But then we'll go into more depth later. But here,
I'll provide an overview of how this little voting tool works in a little bit. So you do not have to use it now, but just we thought we'd provide it in advance for anybody who wanted to.
Right, and just so that you know, if you're playing around with that tool right now, nobody else can see what you're doing. So you're not making any of your work public. So you can do it even just as a draft form if you want to sort of see what it looks like if you eliminate this or eliminate the other, or you just want to see how it works. It's just a way for you to acclimate yourself to it before you actually do the voting at the end.
If you are in there, I would recommend using Chrome or or Firefox, but it doesn't seem to like Internet Explorer browsers. So, and we'll get to that a little bit more later. So no pressure to go and do anything right now.
Right. Okay.
Quick question, Claudia. I had this open in my browser earlier, and I know you updated it. Is it the same link if I just refresh it?
It should be.
Okay, I'll just take it in out of the chat again. No problem. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so the thing that we want to suggest now, on the basis that most of you, all of you have had access to the gallery of the things that we have received so far, and hopefully most of you have had time to look at it. And we thought that before we actually get into a deeper discussion of each individual one, that we might just go round so that everybody who's here gets a chance to share some ideas, and you can tell us anything that you feel strongly about. If there are categories that you feel we should pay particular attention to, or categories that you feel we should just not pay attention to, or if there are one or two entries that you feel very strongly should be contenders, or you feel very strongly should not be contenders. We want to try and get a sense of the feeling of the group in this first round. So the proposal is that you each have 2 minutes. I'm going to call on you, in alphabetical order by last name. And you each have 2 minutes to just let us know what your reaction to what you have seen is so far. And don't feel under pressure to spend a whole 2 minutes talking. If you just have 1 minute of stuff to say, or if you just want to say, I'm still thinking, that's also okay. But if you do already have some strong views about one thing or the other, I think it will help. And just to put it in context, when we were meeting with the elimination group, we realized that there were some things that some people saw that others of us did not see. And it was only when we realized, because somebody said, well, when I see that image, this is what it means to me, that the rest of us said, oh, you're right. Now that you mentioned that, I see that. So it was very helpful with some of those things. And there might be things that, that strike a button with you that may not strike a button with the rest of us. But if you explain why it pushes that button, then the rest of us will understand. And I think it's just going to help us get on the same page a little bit more. So with that, let me start calling you and just have everybody just have whatever reaction you have. And we were going to leave it to 2 minutes each because we're 14 people, 15, 16, maybe more like 16 people. And we want this to be like a half-hour thing. So we want to be a little bit strict about, you can take less than 2 minutes, but we're going to cut you off at 2 minutes. And on that, should I do the timekeeping, or Claudia, were you going to do the timekeeping?
You can go ahead. I'm still working here.
Okay, so let me get my little timekeeper thing going. And so we will start with Roy.
So the overall about everything, right? Or
yes.
A specific one? Yeah, I mean, I
everything.
Thought it was a great exercise, specifically because I was part of the subcommittee, and as Mina mentioned, it was interesting because what's common sense to you is not common sense to other, and what you see intuitively does not come on to other people. So being as simple as vocal with one word would just spark the attention on something. So I thought overall we had great submissions, and I'm excited to go through the whole exercise.
Okay, all right, thank you. Sada. Sada, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I want to thank the elimination group for the work you have done already. That was also kind of thought-provoking, to take a look at that, because some of those things were kind of obvious and some of them maybe were less obvious. Also, the grouping of the submissions by topic were interesting. I appreciated that. It was kind of interesting to see, just all submissions in numerical order and then by group. So I guess I am still thinking, but my initial take is that I had a sort of a negative reaction, let's say, to, maybe buildings, or maybe I am under the influence of the design presentation last week, which sort of suggested, more abstract themes, right? So there were a lot of submissions related to the Pentagon. So that gave me some sort of thought like, okay, is Arlington associated just with one kind of industry, or how do we think about that? So I really liked submissions like the cardinal was nice. The dogwood was nice. So maybe sort of trees and something like that sort of blurs the line between abstract and maybe kind of concrete. Mm-hmm. And then another reaction I had was, so I really like submissions related to A, because, well, my last name begins with A. Maybe I'm partial, but A kind of is a strong letter. So that sort of was attractive, various themes, with A by itself. But a lot of submissions had Arlington, Virginia, and I felt like that was too much, because Arlington is a long word and Virginia is a long word. So that was like sort of too much going on there. So, but these are sort of just very initial thoughts. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Alberto.
Yes. So I was also part of the small committee. I wasn't able to be there for the whole time, but I'm very excited for this process. I think we got a whole lot of great submissions, and I think it's going to be very difficult to get it down and narrow it down. Yeah, I'm very undecisive right now. I think maybe combining a couple of the ideas and making something new, but a lot of the things look great. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Justin?
Strange.
Hi there. So I went through all of these, and actually, since I'm such a methodical person, I took the PowerPoint and created a new slide for myself to basically copy and paste all the logos that I think fit what looked good for me. But just going through some of those basic categories. Oh, and by the way, when I narrowed it down, I mean, I've got quite a few different ones here. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't have my camera on, but I've got quite a few different ones here that I picked out. But I think what I really gravitated towards were the simple ones, because I wanted to make sure that we are inclusive, but in that same vein, we also want to make sure that we're not exclusive, as was mentioned earlier. And I felt that, focusing in on just Pentagon or just the Air Force Memorial or just Arlington Cemetery was focusing in on just the one thing, and we need to be more inclusive than that, even though that they are indicative of Arlington County. So I really gravitated toward things that, again, like Sada said, the A was great, things that said simple Arlington, the county outline was great. I gravitated away from things that were, the florals or the birds, because again, I think that because the dogwood and certain birds are so widely used for state, they're state animals and state flowers and whatnot, that it wasn't really a great way to identify Arlington as being unique. So I agree. I think that this is going to be a very difficult decision. I think we're all up to the task, and I want to thank everybody for putting all this together. I mean, you guys have done an excellent job.
Thank you. Okay, Charmaine. Is Charmaine here today?
She was one we were waiting on. I know she wasn't here at the start, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have not seen her try to join yet. I may shoot her a little email and see if she's available. And if she is able to join, it'd be great if we could come back to her.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'll continue. We'll come back to her. So, Whitney.
Hi, yes, thank you. So I was on the subcommittee as well. I just think that for me, that, and it hits to what a few people have talked about, like what makes Arlington, Virginian, Arlington, DC, adjacent yet unique, right? So, in as much as, I mean, the military, I absolutely no. That's not what I think should be face forward in Arlington. I agree to the extent that the dogwood is nice, but potentially intermixed with something else. The bird, I mean, I don't know that most people, when they think of Arlington, they think of birds. But I do think that there's a way. I was drawn to the bridges and all of the ways that people used bridges, not only because we have so many here, but the link between the past and the future, the link between the, DC and Virginia, that really drew me. And so when I think of what Arlington is, again, as I came here pregnant with my firstborn, because of a certain theme that I wanted to be present throughout the life of my family and my sons. And I do like the concept of that linking. And so I think that makes sense for me, something that kind of indicates and it can last another 100 years, so that we don't have to have this others of us won't necessarily have to have this conversation within the next century, something that is long lasting, that means different things, but also highlights the uniqueness of our location and hopefully our progressivism.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mina?
Whitney just said a lot of what I was going to say, but I 100% agree. I really gravitate towards the ones that had kind of like the skyline with the bridges. Like Whitney said, there was one, Arlington has a ton of bridges, but also the bridges in the metaphorical sense. I also tended to stay away for the ones that were shaped like Arlington or the map of Arlington, mostly because Arlington's not the most like nicely shaped. It's kind of just a rectangle, and it's really not that appealing. Same thing with like the nature. It's not unique to Arlington. It's not like a big indicator of Arlington. It's not like the Grand Canyon where we're super unique and the only place that grows dogwood trees. Also like the Pentagon war related, because what kind of message does that send about Arlington, that we're focused on division rather than unity? That's pretty much all I had.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Tia.
Yes, thank you. I was also on the elimination group. That's an interesting title for us, the elimination group. I appreciate the categories here now. That's been really quite helpful. I do think that it was helpful to hear Kelly go over what was the call for comments, because that's why we're seeing all these things that we're now wanting to eliminate. You know, the landmarks, things that are visible for Arlington. So I think we need to sort of appreciate that as we go through this the second time.
Okay, great. And Ryan?
Hey, so pretty much everyone has, I mean, people have already said all of my main thoughts. I'm kind of in agreement. I like the bridges. I like things simple. I'm leaning away from, federal military industrial complex. That's not Arlington. That's not unique to us. I mean, this is a government company town, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough decision. So it's going to be really hard, a little bit more harder than I was expecting. So that's about it for me.
Okay, thank you. Roy?
I thought I spoke.
Oh, again? sorry. I'm sorry, Robbie.
I can talk for hours. Yeah, but I mean, one main point also on the elimination committee, we were talking. We don't want to be excluding. I mean, basically highlighting one monument, but it was a cool idea if we had a bunch of them or all of them somehow artistically. That was a good idea we had, and that's one of the things where we can talk about merging different logos together.
Yeah.
And then one uniqueness we thought about, and I wanted to say it, like I was one of the first people who were confused 15 years ago between Arlington, Texas and Arlington, Virginia. So we have to build that uniqueness that we're Virginia, not Texas, specifically because they've done a great logo, and even someone submitted that logo to be part of this one. But anyway, that's it on my end. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Roy. I'm sort of glad I called on you again by mistake, because that's actually a really important point, that we thought that we're not limited to just looking at the logos as they are. We can be creative about it, and we can merge different logos if we like different ideas, especially the logos that are similar. We can figure out a way to maybe merge the best ideas from each of them. So as you look at them, think about that, think outside the box. How can we merge the logos? What can we do with them? And some of the logos might have really good ideas, but maybe the artisticness of the person who did it is not right up to par. That's not a reason to reject it, because we have experts who can improve it. So yeah, that's also a very good point to keep in mind. So Robbie Solano, sorry, I meant to call on you, Robbie.
No worries. So I wrote down some notes while I was looking through them, and a point I made was, just like Yasmina said about the county outlines, I was not a fan of that, just because when we were looking at the guidelines, we were looking at how we want something that's going to last a long time. Sometimes, county shapes change. We add a district or something, so those aren't always stable. And then, as Roy just mentioned, I also like the, distinctiveness from Arlington, Virginia, from Arlington, Texas. So the little heart ones kind of drew my attention, because, Virginia's for lovers, kind of ties into that aspect. So, but what really caught my eye were the simple ones. And like Yasmina and Whitney said, the bridges, and, how metaphorical those can be. So I lean towards those more, and I'm excited to see everyone else's opinion on those.
Yeah, thank you. Jennifer, you are the subcommittee, but yeah, thank you.
Hi, everyone. So I'll echo some things. I think it might have been Justin who said these at the beginning, that I gravitated towards logos that are bold, graphics, very symbolic and abstract, not literal representations of things, designs that can capture meaning in them. And I also, looking at all I mean, I really appreciate how many submissions we got. And I actually tried to reverse engineer what Arlington's brand identity might be from all those submissions. And because when I have done logo design, we've always started with the brand identity. So I went backwards and says, well, what do these tell me about Arlington's brand identity? So I jotted that down and then was looking for logos that might capture that. And the 6 pieces of it I jotted down were diverse and inclusive, vibrant and energetic, forward-looking, future-oriented, green, meaning both trees and canopies, as well as sustainability, world-class in some way, which is the county's vision, sophisticated, and the proud home to nationally important monuments. So if I looked at the submissions through that filter, there were a handful of sort of abstract punch designs that would make my short list, but I really hope that the design firm will take it even further and really be inspired by some of these designs and come up with some new, powerful, simple, abstract, symbolic marks that can represent Arlington and represent that brand. So I came away both hopeful that we'll get there, but really with a big appetite for seeing how much further we can go.
Thank you, Jennifer. And if I could ask you, maybe drop in the chat what you just said about,
Sure.
it felt very,
the
very
6
important.
brand identity piece.
Please,
Sure.
yes, and then we can all sort of, look at them. So yeah, thank you. I think that sounded really great to me. JD.
Wow. Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you again. So yeah, I was also a member of the subcommittee, and it was, we had fun getting down to what we have today and submitting to the group. So really enjoyed that. I think we got quite a collection of logos and seals to choose from, but I did make some notes here. For me, many of you know, I'm a retired Marine, so something I told the subgroup in full transparency, I don't feel we should be our future logo or seals should not have anything that resembles anything with the military, whether that's the Air Force Memorial, the Iwo Jima Monument, which I love, or Arlington National Cemetery. We have enough of those symbols already in Northern Virginia and DC. Plus, it doesn't represent Arlington in a whole. But, I'm looking for something as simple, it's meaningful, symbolism is important, it's thought-provoking, and it's definitely inclusive, something that's also distinctive, and no letters. We also have to keep in mind at the end of the day that the symbol we choose, right now the county has a logo and a seal. We're choosing one. So we have to think about, this is also going to be on the flag, right? So typically you don't find lettering on flags and words. We do now, but that's typically not how it works. So I'm looking for something that, creative, again, simple, and but we got a good group to choose from, and I know it's going to be difficult, but I'm not for anything that represents the military, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, and may I add one last thing? Anything resembling columns. There's a whole nother story behind that, but nothing with columns in it.
Columns.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a story behind that, which I won't waste your time. I did share an article, but there's some history behind columns and statues that people should probably read up on, how far it goes back.
It might be useful to spend like 2 seconds just telling us. I'm not sure
So,
why
yeah.
I'm hearing an echo, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. For me, you're hearing an echo for me?
I don't know where from.
I'm looking. So if we back this up a little bit, and I don't want to take up all your time. You know, the reason we're at this point right now is because I will tell you that not only did the Arlington branch NAACP, but a few people in the community, when we looked at the current state of the flag and the columns associated with it, there are not only some Greek and white nationalist connotations behind all of that goes back historically in courthouses and a whole slew of things. But we actually brought in a PhD doctor out of Rutgers University to talk to us about it, the branch at NAACP, and I learned so much about how columns, and if you look at QAnon and a lot of other these extreme groups, like somehow how that inspires them, and it's crazy. I did not know this, but I'll share the article with you. I thought I did before, but after I became somewhat aware, and I know whether we're talking about the Supreme Court or the courthouses across America, we're not going to change them all. But if we have an opportunity to change where we're at now, then I don't think, we need to, come back 25, 30 years from now and be like, you know what? Why do we put columns on this logo? Because to many, believe it or not, that's representative of slavery and plantation, a whole slew of things. And it goes like far beyond the time before Christopher Columbus came to America or discovered America. So there's some history there that I wasn't aware of until 3 or 4 months ago. But I would encourage, I'll put the link in the chat for those who may have some time to look at it themselves and read up on it. But that's just enough for me to realize, if there's groups of people out there that are inspired by that and is associated with white nationalism and all that stuff, then it doesn't need to be on our flag. Mm-hmm. So I just think we have a plethora of flags and designs to choose from, which is really good for us. Some people have been very creative, and I think we're gonna find some good ones. So that's where I'm at, right? Someone else may think differently, but we've been down this road. I would say I have in the NAACP for about 7-8 months. So we didn't just show up to the scene here. We've done some research. We've kind of looked at this, and I'm just happy that we're here as a community discussing what our flag is going to look like in the future. And again, it's one symbol, it's one logo, and we need to keep that in the back of our mind, because wherever it goes, it's going to be on our flag, it's going to be on police uniforms, it's going to be on our paper in the government buildings, everywhere, envelopes, one. So I also think when we're talking about being distinct and creative, we can't put too much detail into this, because that in itself can be somewhat not only a heavy lift, but take away. We can find something that's simple and very powerful. That's just me. Okay.
Thank you, JD. Yeah, and that is another important point to keep in mind, that we're not going to have a separate seal and a separate logo. It's just going to be one thing that will be used for both. Mm-hmm. So whether that means that it shouldn't have writing on it, or whether it means that the writing should be very plain and simple, that's something that we need to think about. Is Charmaine here?
I have reached out to Charmaine. I haven't heard from her yet, and I don't believe she has joined.
All right. Okay. So before I go to you, Jennifer and Claudia, are there any other members of the panel that I have not called upon?
Monet, I'd like to hear your thoughts as well, and I have a couple to add. So go ahead.
Okay, absolutely. No, go ahead first, Kelly. You go, and then I'll go, and then I'll follow Jennifer.
I just want to say there's nothing new that I have to say, but I do align with a lot of what's been said already. From a logo, regardless of who or where, what it's from, I feel they're very strong when they're simple and clean. Myself, I'm more intrigued by one that has a bit of an abstract feel to it. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I get it. I see that arrow in the FedEx, or so something that is not in your face, but has a little subtlety to it. I think it can incorporate multiple ideas. If there were one symbol that represents it all, great. Otherwise, keep it clean and simple. Two things that resonated with me in terms of Arlington are our proximity to DC. We were part of the District of Columbia, and as I travel and work with businesses, if I say I'm from Arlington, Virginia, they say, where's that? I say, oh, it's part of DC. Now we're across the river. So I think that there's a lot of value in what Arlington, a lot of people are coming to Arlington as a result of wanting to be in the DC area. So I think the proximity is important. And just in terms of symbols or graphics or elements in it, I too was drawn to the bridges. I love all the symbolism that bridges represent. I think, and again, it emphasizes our proximity to DC, kind of, we're just the western half of it. So those two things. And JD, I agree with your sentiment on not necessarily the military, which has its own aspects, but monuments in general. We have the Lee House. Next month, something could happen with the Air Force military or the Marine Corps. And I think that if you're tying yourself to something like that, it's short-lived. So something can happen that, so as we're choosing something that, it's hard to think of everything, but thinking like, okay, this does have legs that will stand the test of time. Renee?
Okay, thank you. I do have a few thoughts. I'm aware of, in my role as co-chair, I don't want to push anything too hard, but I must say that, picking up on what people are saying, some of the things that that really strike me is our identity as a city that is very close to Washington, D.C. And that is a two-edged sword. I think that at the same time, and maybe that's why I also like the imagery of the bridges. We are a bridge, there's a bridge between us and DC. But at the same time, we don't want our identity to be totally subsumed with DC. And for me, that is my issue with all the federal, the federal monuments, the military monuments, because they're really more about DC. They're not about Arlington. And we want to be separate from DC. We're close to DC, but we're separate from DC. So I'm also hoping that, we can move away from things that really are more about DC and the federal government than they are about us. The dogwoods and the cardinals, I don't have such strong views about them. I think that it can be a little bit overused. And it also can be a bit vanilla, a dogwood flower is, it's fine, it's there, and it's, it's okay. It's to me, it's almost like we didn't try very hard. We just stuck a dogwood onto our logo and moved on. It's like phoning in your homework or something like that. I have to say that I liked the differentiation between Arlington, Texas and Arlington, Virginia, and the concept that Virginia is for lovers, and maybe we can do something that really is, I know that certain people, certain members of us were saying that, hearts are overused, but if there's a way to sort of say that, and there was one that had a logo, Virginia, like Arlington, a lovely place to be. And maybe that's just a romantic in me. I thought, that's so sweet. I like that, and it would be, a nice way to look at Arlington. So, so I liked that. I liked the softer things about it. And then the things that just thought, that were just different variations of the letter A and the things that you could do with it. I also liked. But as I say, I think that we've heard really great ideas from everybody, and we should just hopefully, mostly I'm hoping that we're able to sort of winnow this down and come to an agreement on maybe like 15 to 20 that we all somehow like, and move on from there. So let me ask Claudia and Jennifer to talk, and then we'll ask ERD to just give us their thoughts of whatever they want to give us their thoughts about, including anything they've heard that they think needs commentary. So Jennifer?
I love everybody's comments. I think they're really fascinating. Appreciate the work of everybody. I don't have strong feelings, and I'm not a voting member of the panel, of course. I am kind of struck. I just always kind of think about Arlington. You know, people who are not from this area, they don't realize what a small town it is in a big place. You know, we're kind of this little town in this big area, right? And yet we maybe have tall buildings and, you know, cityscapes, and yet we also believe in our trees and our parks, and, you know, so I didn't really have a favorite. I thought some of them were quite compelling. I too was drawn toward some of the more simple ones that had a little less complexity. But I thought there were lots of good choices, and I think it's going to be hard work. So that's all I'll say right now.
Okay, great. Claudia.
Yeah, I'm also not a voting member of the panel, so I don't want to sway everyone's opinions too much. But I guess I've always been a fan of you know, picking symbology that is representative of an experience, perhaps. And I know some people have spoken to what is or is not the Arlington experience for more than one group of Arlingtonians. I also think a good logo, especially, you know, one logo for all purposes, looks good on a county document as well as on a sticker that tourists might want to put on their hydro flask. So that's just something to keep in mind. You know, will it be like appealing in more than one use to visitors and residents alike? So that's all I'll have to say about that.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And Bryna, since you're here, I would also invite you, if you have a few words of wisdom for us, please.
Thanks. Let's see if I can get on camera here. Well, first of all, just thanks to everyone. I'm at the beach. Can you see? I'm, you know, enjoying my time. But I think your insights, I think your collective insights are really is what's gonna make the difference, and you guys collectively bring a ton of value, and so I'm confident that you will get to a good place, that you're all comfortable in this process, and that you're all comfortable with what proceeds forward. So thank you for your good work.
Okay. Thank you, Bryna. And we have our consultants with us today from ERG. So I just ask you to just speak in the order that you think is best.
Sure. Well, this is Linda. Hi, everybody. I have to say, I've just been so impressed by all of the insights and the comments tonight. And I just think you all are really on the right path by thinking about what is distinctive, meaningful about Arlington. I have to confess, I too was drawn to the bridges and the metaphor of the bridges and many of the simple logos. And I'll let Samael, who's the real graphic designer, speak.
Hi, everybody. This is Samael. So I echo everybody's comments. Very impressive set of submissions we have, and it was interesting getting everybody's feedback. I'll jump on the bridge bandwagon and say that I was a fan of the bridge imagery and, you know, the metaphor it represents. Although after hearing JD's comments on the columns, I am wondering, curious to see, you know, when we do represent bridges, if we do go with the bridge route, if we should do more research to make sure there's, in terms of architectural history, you know, there is something in there that we should investigate before we finalize and set anything in stone. Also, all the design submissions with simple imageries, that's something I was drawn towards. But at the same time, if there is something in concept that the panel likes, we can always simplify that and, you know, make it more abstract. So that's just something to keep in mind, that, you know, we can simplify it if you have a concept in mind. The abstract logo submission, the page, I think it was one of the last pages, I did feel that they were, they're right, a very high-tech way of showing the logos here, but I did feel like some of them were very stock art. That's something that you could just pay $5 online and download that for. So we do want to, just a caution that we do want to go towards something that's abstract and meaningful and simple, but also caution that we don't want it to be make it look common or not memorable. So that's just something, a balance that we'll have to do as we're doing the selection as well as the design process.
Right.
That's it from me.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there anybody else on ERG? No. Oh,
just
okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I think that it is worth emphasizing that because we have this great resource available to us of ERG, as we look at these submissions, you know, we can look at something and we can say, well, you know, the artwork on that is not fantastic, but I love the idea. And we can give it, and ERG will make it. You know, we can even say, this is what we like, can you do this with it? And they'll be able to do it, you know, with it. So it gives us more options than we would suppose. And it also means that we need to be a little bit careful not to reject entries just because we think, you know, that this person didn't draw very well, because that's not the point. If we actually like the suggestions. And then also the idea that we have to be very careful about the imagery and about the symbolism of the things that we're proposing. That may or may not be obvious to us today, but maybe, and again, you know, the consulting firm can help us do some research on the imagery and the history and the concepts of the things that we're proposing, so that we don't end up proposing something that inadvertently gives a message that we don't want it to give. You know, the example being JD and, you know, what he's saying about the columns. So we have to be careful with that. And we also, I think I wanted to say earlier, but I forgot, that clearly with all of these things, there will also be a process afterwards, a quality review process, where we make sure that the things we have actually are original and that they're not somebody else's artwork that we didn't know about. So that is homework that we're going to need to do to make sure that we don't end up with something that violating a copyright that we didn't even know about. So I think that is, we've gone now around, everybody has, you know, said their part. And the next part of this is to actually look at the submissions. And we thought we'd look at them by category so we can discuss them by category. And then people can decide how we're going to deal with them. And, you know, there are several ways of dealing with them. One of them is to say that there are certain categories that we all agree we're just going to dismiss. That's the most extreme one. If we say, yep, we agree, we don't want military things, then we know that we're just going to dismiss all of them. There'll be other categories where we say, these things all look so similar that let's just agree we like the dogwood in blue. And these are 3 things that are dogwoods in blue. Let's just agree we like them. Let's send them to the design company and have the design company make the best amalgamation of all of them. That's another way that we could do it. So as we go through the categories, you know, just think creatively about what we can do with all of them. So on that note, I think I'll hand it over to you, Kelly.
Okay. Jennifer, did you have something real quick?
Yeah, did you want me to display, I can do a couple different options. I can display the Google Drive and the, you know, kind of go folder by folder this way, or I can bring up the PowerPoint and kind of show that. Do you have a preference?
I was actually going to go through the link that Claudia has, and I'll just scroll it because that's what people will be voting on.
Oh,
that makes
okay,
sense?
that works too. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and grab the screen.
Drive, right? Yeah.
It doesn't categorize it quite the same way. It's kind of the closest we could get, but that's fine.
Right. And are you seeing it now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me just get my little cheat sheet of categories here. So there are quite a lot, 100 and what did we say, 56 now?
Yeah, 190 remaining at this point.
190.
Okay, so I will do my best to take my time and let people give input. I think maybe the just starting to see how the conversation goes, but as we look at them, and I do have to scroll a little bit, I apologize because it's just there's too many, but it might be helpful to say like, no way, that one's out because, or I really like this one because, because you will see a lot of different ones within the same category. So if I could ask Jennifer and Claudia to watch hands, since I have the screen, I can't see any hands up, and just stop me when we can. This first category put together, I'm calling it landscape because it shows these skylines, but it also shows shapes of Virginia, different architecture within the county as well. So I'll just start scrolling through here. Again, there's a lot of shapes with the state, or sorry, with Arlington, and that comes up in another category as well. Some with more complex with the outline of the skyline and some, memorials in with it. And then, so I'm just going to stop right there because that gets us into the next bridges category. So I want to just say thank you to Jennifer, or Jen, not Jennifer K, for putting these in categories, because it really, at least for me, it helps me think, like, first of all, is this a viable category? Does it make sense? And then also then it kind of, the ones that are really more effective bubble to the top, or the ones that are least effective are also kind of obvious. Again, keep in mind what we'll be doing from here later this evening is a yes, no, maybe. So
no, maybe, just yes.
I'm sorry, maybe it's just a, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and it's really just a yes. All you have to do is click on the ones you like, the little
right, yeah. If you have a possibility, make it a yes, so it'll go forward. All right, so then I'm looking down, moving into let's see, additional skylines, as we saw, and then moving into the bridge that so many people commented on.
I see a hand. It's let's see who's got their hand up. JD.
Yes, just before we get further. So just testing this out. Proceed as guests, log in or sign up. I mean, are we going to do this for each one, or how's it going to work?
No. When we get to the voting part, well, you can log in. You can just put your name and log in now and start clicking the little check boxes.
Sure.
You do not have to log in. It's just put your name in. So at the end, we kind of know everybody's voted.
Gotcha.
So you can see my screen, but let's just say you have it up on your own, and I like this one and this one and this one.
Got it.
You can track it yourself, or you can be, if you want to see them all, and at the end, we'll have 15-20 minutes that you'll off camera that you'll be able to give it a little better thought. And I like that you can go off and on, or yes and no, because if you change your mind, you go back to it.
Yeah, and you don't have to click the little circle if it's a no, and you can unclick your box as well. And again, we're going to have a little bit of time for this later, so you don't have to do it right now. But
and then I did just want to share, if there's something you don't get. Oops, no, it's up here. Sorry, these dots. If there's something you don't get,
we don't have the details in here, Kelly. It's in the Google.
Oh, it's in the other one.
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Alrighty, sorry about that. Okay, so we are back here. I'm going into bridges, and let me just roll that down.
If you'd like to click on the little X, it'll take away the entry number if that's helpful to you.
Yeah. So
do we have the entry numbers on these things? Can we see what the entry number is for each of them?
No.
Oh yeah, if you click back on the little icon, it should.
There you
I
go.
see. Okay.
Yeah, they're either on or
I don't
off.
know if it's in the way, but.
I'm just going to throw my 2 cents out. I'm driving here, but this one here that I'm circling on the left, and it is so similar to the current county logo. It's almost like take the county logo but change it to something else. So that's just my comment on that one. Let me pull up again the categories here. Again, so we're going into bridges, and then we get into a little bit of buildings, not just skyline.
Those look like now the Air Force Memorial, right?
Yeah, they overlap a little bit. Like, it's not like the PowerPoint where you flip from one to another. So you've got a little bit of bridges here, and then we're getting into memorials in general, mostly Air Force here.
Kelly, I just wanted to comment, that is Friedman's Village, the photo in the upper right, in case people, can't quite see that. And we also have the descriptions that were submitted along with these. They were in the Google Drive, but if anybody wants us to read one or share that, we're happy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're going through to your own devote, I guess you can pull that up. And some of these overlap, so this A could be also be in the abstract A category as we get there, or it could stay here with the memorials. And we're getting to some cemetery shots as well, in terms of a category. More memorials with Iwo Jima and Tomb of the Unknown. I'm looking at this one here at the left. It's not really memorial. Some of them are harder to go, to associate with it. That's a little bit of an abstract one. We've got some Pentagon. And let me see just real quick here, make sure I have the right categories I'm calling. Other military, yep. And then we started looking at people, hands, fists, some of these represented here. And obviously the dogwoods now. We have quite a few birds together. Moving into trees and trails. And the heart, as we talked about. Potomac River, a little bit shapes of Arlington County. We had a Potomac River, sorry, up there on the right side. And let's see, moving to the next slide. We've got coming up the county shape. A lot of different aspects. Just click again, county shape more. And then some of the more of the abstract logos. Starting with text. A lot of these. Let's keep scrolling. And then I think we get into the A. And you'll see, like, again, some of them cross that's an A with a dogwood, which is fine. A with a bridge. A with the cemetery. And then using the county seal. Or the current seal. And then we've got some uncategorized, some here that are a bit more abstract, a couple of submissions in terms of concept and ideas. You had time to read those. And this one looks a little bit out of place because it was identified incorrectly that it was to be eliminated, and that's not the case. It didn't violate any of our criteria, or it didn't meet any of the elimination criteria. So there's that one as well. So no hands, Claudia, no discussion. I'm happy to go back if you guys maybe wrote down a number or tagged one that you wanted to discuss. Whether you really like it, make a case for it, or whether you really want to make a case not to put it forward. See if I can make my screen a little smaller so you can see some more at a time.
I see a hand from Yasmina. And
Great.
Go ahead, Yasmina.
One that like instantly stood out to me. I'm pretty sure it's like the sixth one. Like when we were going through it on the first page. It's like the
first page, sorry. Okay.
It's the one with the bridge, and I liked how simple it was, how clean it was, but it was also really pretty.
Can you say?
Do I have
or-
my finger on it?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. Okay, nice.
Sorry, Kelly, do you mind actually blowing that one up? If you double click that
Sure.
image, we can see a little bit
yes,
more.
Yep, right. Yeah, that's helpful when anyone pulls one out to discuss.
And then at the top, we see that's entry number 54.
Thank
Yasmina,
you.
is this
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, that one.
Cool?
I think this is a great entry. I just worry about the scalability of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail.
Sada has her hand up too.
Yeah, so this is a question about the logo versus the seal. So towards the end, right, Kelly was showing us the county seal. So the same image will be used for both purposes in a sense that there will still be a seal that is round and it will say Arlington, Virginia in it, or I am still not getting the whole kind of seal or no seal thing, if you don't
There'll
mind.
be one symbol or icon for
Mhm.
both the county government and the county board.
There will not be a separate seal.
That's right. There's no requirement to have it look like or feel like the previous seal.
Let me get down to there. I think that was just some people using that as an inspiration. The
Okay.
seal is from previous, that is there.
Right. Okay, so it's not like the outside of the seal will be preserved and the image stuck inside it. The seal is going away. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Do you think it's worth discussing it by category? If it's, I know that in the PowerPoint that Claudia had presented, we had like the categories that she had named them, like the skyline, that Jen had named the skyline, bridges, buildings. Might that be a way to discuss it at this point, rather than to give some sort of format to the discussion?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Let's go back up to skyline, landscape, and county shape. They're kind of, I say that only because I've seen a lot of that in these first entries together, so it doesn't have to necessarily be skyline, but I am gonna again zoom out a little bit so we can see more choices.
If you like, I can bring up a different view too, if that's easier.
Sure. Yeah. You want to try the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I've got that. Hold on just a sec. Yeah.
And JD just shared something in the chat. Okay, that's the current flag. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, hold on just a sec. I will get right to the area that I need. All right, hold on.
No problem.
How about if I pull up
there we go. Yes.
It's easier to do the PowerPoint if people can see that.
Yeah.
Is that visible to people?
Yes.
There's two slides with skyline.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
So this is one.
Yeah, I think there were two with skyline, right?
Yeah, and this is the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's some overlap, of course, but
right. So yeah, we can discuss it, one, in terms of that we think the skyline itself is a good idea, and then if we do, which of these we particularly like. There's a very stylized one like number 91, or they're the ones that are pretty much more literal, that more complicated, like number 229. I can't see it there, but had lots and lots of buildings. But is it possible to show both slides at the same time, slide 1 and 2 that are both skyline, or is that too much?
let me think here.
Drag your
there we go. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a great this is
we just
go back to the thumbnail and then drag the thumbnail scale over. Yeah, right there. Now drag that to the left.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, no, drag it right to make that bigger.
It's not dragging for some reason, so.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Yeah. So all the entries are sorted by subfolder, by category, but it also looks like Jen has a question.
Here, I can go.
Yeah, it's not a question, but I'm happy to jump in with an assertive opinion, which is, to me, I get where skylines are coming from, but they're complicated. they're, as submitted, they're all way too complicated and detailed to read well just at a design level. And even if we make very abstract, Arlington County skyline is constantly changing. And it's very literal. So to me, I'm personally unlikely to vote for any of these to move forward because I don't think the skyline lends itself to an enduring, simple, symbolic logo. And that's my opinion for what it's worth.
Okay. Does anybody else have general views on the skyline as a concept? Ryan.
Yeah, I want to agree with what Jennifer just said. I also think it's kind of cliche. Every city has, you know, a skyline. A lot of them have them in their logos. It's to me, it's not distinct. Just wanted to add that. But I mean, I personally like them, but it's just not that distinct.
Okay, then we can move to the bridges, I guess, and see whether people what people think about the.
Here we go, bridges. Okay.
Yeah, I know several people mentioned that they liked, especially the metaphor of the bridge.
I'm just gonna kind of scroll down and then I'll go back up.
Yeah, I mean, we should note that many of them are key. The bridges actually belong to DC. They do not belong to Arlington. But I guess it's fine because many of the bridges show Arlington in the background, so that's why we would use the bridge, even as we're saying that we want things that are related to Arlington. But I think Key Bridge does belong to DC, not to Arlington.
Yeah, this one might have slipped in. It's a little more of like the I don't know if it's quite as bridgy, but that's all right.
No, 269 is not a bridge at all. It's the bicycle and at the corner of Arlington County.
Yeah, it's a bicycle.
That's okay. We had a few slip in different.
Yeah, so we can pull that somewhere else.
And again, all of these, when you get to the voting part, you can click and look at them a little closer if you'd like. So.
Yeah, I guess my comment would be like 125. I think it's what I think you said, Kelly. Was it Jennifer? That 125 really just looks like Arlington House, and they've done something a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
so yeah. I would dismiss that. But then the others, even 92, that's a very stylized bridge. That that's a nice idea, and it has the metaphor of Arlington being a bridge between DC and the rest of Virginia.
This one also, they were using colors of the metro, as I recall, as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
See that?
Sada has her hand up again.
Yeah, so I agree with Minnie that I like the concept of the bridge, but I was wondering if maybe that could be a suggestion for our design colleagues to maybe propose something a little bit more visually compelling than the sort of designs we have here, if we sort of develop more or less a consensus that bridge is a concept we should pursue, maybe. Because I also like the idea of the bridge, but yeah, I'm wondering which of these kind of could be good candidates to go forward, and I haven't made up my mind yet.
Right. Yeah, I think this would actually be a great example of something where we could say there are several of them here. Some are similar, some are different. And can the design company come up with something that incorporates those ideas into something that, that has the elements that we're looking for?
Would you like to move on yet, or I'm just I'm also cautious of our time here.
I wanted to say something about bridges.
Yes.
Are we monitoring that? I'm sorry. As much as I like, the concept of bridge, and I can hear what you're saying about a metaphor, honestly, I just don't see how a bridge defines Arlington and like the past, present, and in the future. I'm not getting it. So maybe someone can kind of help. It's I just need some there because I'm not seeing it. And there's nothing about Arlington that's really defined by a bridge besides, again, our connection to DC. It can be used, yeah, metaphorically to mean a lot of things, but I think it's just too central. It doesn't. Someone talk me, explain it to me. I don't
There
know
are other
who supports
comments
bridges.
for this sentiment as well that could probably contribute to that. And I see another hand, Sada.
Oh, someone already put it there.
No, sorry. Must have been a mistake on my part. Sorry, I didn't read.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. I definitely I hear you, JD. And like I say, that Key Bridge belongs to DC. All the bridges actually belong to DC, not to Arlington. I was struck by the metaphor of a bridge, which is a bridge between the past and the future, as well as between the federal government and the rest of Virginia. So I don't know whether we could do something with that even included the idea of how we move from the past that we've had to the future that we want, and whether we can actually put that idea into a simple representation of a bridge. It might not work. I don't know. That would, for me, that would be what I would like about the concept. But yeah, I'm willing to listen to to other people who like the idea. Yeah, I mean, by itself, it's the bridges don't even belong to Arlington.
I look at the symbol as connecting and more being inclusive. Not only are we connecting with the district, but we're an open gateway to and from destinations.
Yeah, and I mean, it for me, it represents, the connection between North and South. That's part of our history, and it's not necessarily DC, but as a person who was born in Philadelphia, Virginia's the South, and we're reconstructing what Northern Virginia looks like, and potentially what Virginia looks like, and going southbound. But it's hard for me as a Northerner to not recognize the connection of those bridges. I also live right near them. I live in Courthouse, so I walk across those bridges every day, and so it's not just because we're DC's little sister, but it is a connection between the fact that Arlington was part of DC historically. And we continue to be. The reason why Virginia is Virginia, the way Virginia is now, is not at the least in part of who is living in Arlington and the type of people who are moving to Arlington from places like DC or Philadelphia or further north. And so in reality, it's just the connection that really, it's not just literally the symbolism of the fact that for a very small place, we got a lot of bridges, whether we own them or we don't, a lot of bridges for not a lot of area. And so there's something specifically about bridges that is incredibly important for our day-to-day lives. But and also, I mean, when you read, when I was reading on the elimination committee, reading about why people were picking bridges, they specifically talked about inclusivity and bridges and that connection between not only past and present and future, but connecting people. And it part of Arlington is the fact that people go from 395 is people going through Arlington from one place to another. 66 going from one place to another. And so it's not, Arlington isn't just here for those of us who live here, but it's here for those of us who are connected to it in various ways as well. So that's why the bridges, to me, I like the symbolism of that.
Hey, just a quick technical note. If anybody wants to see a bigger, some of these aren't showing completely, I'm happy to bring it up so you can see the whole thing. If you like, just let me know.
Jen has her hand up, and then Sada.
Jen?
Unmuting.
Jen,
so,
yep, you're muted.
Sorry, to connect these, maybe some guidance for the design firm is, since there is a lot of heart for bridges as a metaphor and all the things that bridging from one place to another can mean, And I think maybe some of the reluctance of some people, myself included, is the literalism of the bridges. Maybe an idea that the design firm could pursue is extracting it one step further. So it's a graphic that is a bridge, but it's not a literal representation of one of the actual bridges.
Yeah.
And that might fit both needs, both to capture the metaphor and to not be too tied to something that is literally not something that's Arlington.
I like that. And maybe, I don't want to put them on the spot, but the design firm, Linda, if maybe you could give us your ideas on whether it's possible to do that. I like the thought of just extracting the concept and the metaphor of the bridge and using that without it necessarily being key bridge or something.
Yep, definitely. And even in some of the logos later on that are a little bit more abstract, there's like, you probably remember some that have like an arch and they, to me, are beginning to connote that bridge concept. So maybe that's another idea if you all like that, some of those logos that we see later on. But yes, I think that's a great idea. And if everybody does support that, certainly playing around with those ideas.
So on that note, may I draw your attention to logo 223? It had some of it looks abstract. I don't maybe it got
Which number was that?
logo number
223. The one that's just Arlington with the
yes, yeah, that one
that's
there,
right.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you look at that, it some just it looks like an abstract bridge. It looks like a key bridge, but it has, it does have that sense of progress with the line going up. That's, something to keep in mind. So I just wanted to, based on everybody's comments of, do you want this bridge to be just existing as it is or connecting? We could have something at the end of the line, something at the beginning of the line to kind of denote progress or connection and things like that. So we can certainly play around with all the concept feedback that you've been giving to kind of, play with this bridge idea for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking too, just to piggyback on that, 244, these are the ones I was thinking of.
244A or
240, boy, I think it's just 244. It's coming, it's in the Arlington category. It's not in the bridge category.
Oh, okay.
244C, I think.
It's in the, just Arlington.
Not
Oh,
sure.
it's just Arlington, Virginia with like an arc through the Arlington.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
Let me go back.
Oh yeah, go in a different folder.
Yeah.
Actually,
If
let
you
me
go back
just
to chronological, you can see it quite easily to 244.
I've got it in the PDF, so it comes right before the abbreviated Arlington. Keep scrolling, I think it's down further. Yeah, and further. And further.
Yeah, no, the
That
abstract
keeps going.
logos or
There it
Arlington.
is.
Yeah.
So it's that second.
There it is, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
This one. Oh, okay. All right.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that
It's actually 244C. It's missing
Okay.
the C.
And then just the one below it, 259B, that's also could be bridgy.
A
Yeah,
suggestion.
they both look like bridge, but they also say like horizon and new dawn, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think I see a little bit of both in each.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, I like the horizon part of it. Yes. Yeah, so we could include those, and then the concept is a very very abstract bridge, and it could be a bridge or it could be a horizon, but it has a end, a beginning, as something that's bringing them together, sort of thing.
Did you want to move on to a couple of the other topics so we could get through them?
Sure.
After bridges?
Yeah, which, let's see, we have so many.
Then we had the buildings in the neighborhood. I think that's what came next.
Let's see, where's buildings? Okay.
Yeah. And we
not a lot of buildings, a little bit.
I just want to do a time check for you guys. It's 8:30, and I know you have a bunch of work you want to get done yet tonight. So I think if you're planning, what time were you planning to go until?
We were originally planning to go till 9. I think we're a little off that timetable right now.
So I just laying it out there for y'all to consider.
Yeah, you're right, Brian. And we wanted to take time to vote, but maybe go through these a tiny bit more quickly so that we can get to doing that as well, I guess. So
yeah, because we still have to after we vote.
Yeah,
I might pull up this. I might pull it up this way. It might be a little kind of quicker to kind of glance at things.
Yeah. Okay, there you are. Buildings and neighborhoods. Yeah. And on this one, I guess the 212, which is the Friedman's Village, that's another very good example of something where we could like that concept. It was a historically African American settlement in Virginia, but clearly it's too busy to be a logo right now. But could our design firm take something that represents that you know that we could use? 42. To be frank, I'm not 100% sure what it's doing. It's lots of slabs of concrete, which I guess is a building.
I believe it's the new school in Roslyn. I think it's kind of a symbol of that, I believe.
You're right. It's HB.
Yeah,
yeah, so that might be a little bit too particular. And then 259, I guess, is one of the tall buildings in Roslyn, which again might be too particular.
I think that is just a building. Like, I don't see it as representational as some of the other ones.
Yeah.
I don't think it's calling to a specific one, but.
Right. I mean, I like the Arlington, Virginia part of the logo, the little colored little dots that put on Arlington. I mean, that's cute and that's nice and that's worth. If we end up just going with the word Arlington, that's a pretty way to dress it out. So that's a consideration. So we could then maybe just keep moving down. I think the next one was the Air Force Memorial. And these, we can deal with by category and just ask ourselves whether as a group, we want to say, let's not consider the Air Force Memorial, the military, for the reasons that several people have already given, that, we can't really do one military without doing the other, and Arlington should not be represented by that. But do we have a sense of what most people think about that? Is there anybody who would feel strongly that we should keep the military stuff and the...
And if they do, it's something that people can also vote on too. I mean, if they do, when we get to that, if they feel strongly, it that's an option.
Yeah. And if you don't want, if you want it eliminated, just don't click on it, and it will self-select itself out.
Right. Okay. And then the next one was Arlington Cemetery, and maybe the same comment.
Can I just make a comment on the Arlington Cemetery from a branding standpoint? One, our biggest challenge is being confused with Arlington, Texas, and two is Arlington is just a cemetery. And as much as we have to be proud about it, and we're excited it's located here, the rest of the country just knows Arlington by the cemetery. So I think it's very, very narrow.
Yeah,
I thought.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. So then moving down to the next one, which is the other military. And again, it's the same thing. We can agree that, if we agree that we don't want them, some of us have given strong reasons why just not to do the military. And then the other category, we put people, hands, and fists. It's the one after military. Yeah. Which 101 looked to me like, I think there's a Unicef logo that looks very similar to that. The 101 and 215 just don't look very original to me. Or 247 for that matter. You know, this sort of people holding hands, it just really makes me think of either UNICEF or other United Nations things. 138 and 84, the raised fist, and 67. The raised fist has a very particular meaning that I'm not sure how inclusive that's going to be perceived as. I don't know. I'm interested in people's feelings about that.
Actually, I just posted the UNICEF logo in the chat if anyone wanted to see it.
Okay.
I didn't realize that, and I didn't think of it, but I will say for 101, I like the idea of the abstract A and the people and inclusive, and it may not be the best representation of it, but I like the concept of it.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though that is actually quite similar to the Cigna logo.
Oh, is it? Okay. Because I was quickly Googling UNICEF and United Nations. So
I'm putting UNICEF. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's something, but I can't remember what. But I've just seen it somewhere. And we can always do the quality check later on if we like it.
Is it okay if I move to Dogwoods? Or did people have things to say? We've got 2 pages of Dogwoods. I'm just going to kind of, you know, I'll stay on this one for a moment and then I'll flip to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, Dogwoods are pretty. Dogwoods are not completely incredibly original. You know, they just, you know, they're dogwoods. Somebody tells me the dogwood tree is actually dying in Virginia because there's some disease that's going to kill it off. So in a few years' time, there'll be no dogwoods in Virginia. So it's going to be embarrassing.
Oh, gosh.
But they're pretty. The thing about dogwoods is that they're pretty. And then
sorry, I'm going back. There we go. Shall we go on to birds?
Sure. I liked 225 because it is striking. And I think it's meant to be a heron, and heron is definitely not a city bird or state bird or anything, but it just looked to me like a striking image. And the description had something about looking forward and looking back at the same time, and or the rest of that. I don't think we can really do the cardinal because Virginia has already done the cardinal. So if Arlington does it, that just seems like we're just copying Virginia.
This is a different bird. I can't remember the one in the lower right. I don't have the description in front of me, but it was a different, I guess, bird, maybe even native to this area particularly.
228. Yeah, 228 is the, what did they say it was? Oh, they didn't give a description. They just sort of put it there.
Maybe I'll
228 is the yellow rump warbler. It is a native of Arlington County.
I see it. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. I'm assuming from the silence that people are just thinking about it and nobody has any comments to make right now. So then we move on to the trees and the trails. I think 118 was it meant to represent a trail or was it meant to represent the Potomac River? I forget now.
118 and 242 are both actually by the same designer. The green strip is a trail. They were trying to talk about how parks are an equitable space. They're open to all abilities and level of activity. The difference is that 118 is a dogwood leaf and 242 is just a rectangle.
Ah, okay. Yeah, and then the 227 and 70 submissions by children. So, that's great. And those are the sort of things where, again, if we liked it, we could ask the design firm if they could make it more stylized and if they could improve on it to that point. So, okay, trees and trails. And then the next category is the Potomac River.
I will say one about the river, not here, but one of the abstract Arlingtons with the river through it, I thought was more effective than this.
Okay.
I might skip now to hearts.
Well, then the hearts. Definitely the hearts are a cliche. But somebody did mention that, our state logo is Virginia is for lovers. I don't know whether that seems to be an argument for the heart, but the argument against is that the heart might be overused in terms of slogans for cities.
We've got a couple having to do with shape, so I'll just kind of quickly flip to those.
I second Yasmina on the shape comment.
Okay.
What was Yasmina? I can't see the comments, so somebody wants to.
I think she's. Go ahead, repeat yourself.
I just said earlier that it's not that interesting since it's kind of just a rectangle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have the very abstract. So after the shapes, the abstract logos.
Okay. Oops, there we go. A little more.
And then the ones attached to the name.
Yes.
Yeah. And some of those name ones are, I think are pretty. I think are nice. And then the A.
Am I going? Is this okay that I'm moving through these?
I think it's fine. Maybe, but
Yeah,
yes,
I think we're familiar with it. And if someone has something to speak up, go for it.
Yeah. And from here, we'll go to give people time to vote. The county seal, I would be almost against doing something that represents the county seal because it's really too close to repeating what we already have when we've been told that we're trying to move away from that.
And then these were some items that were categories. And this is the one that we added at the end. I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, miscellaneous. Yeah, 53 was very puzzling to me.
I think the dragon's cute.
Okay. Oh, 110 is a dragon, huh?
Yes, a little dragon, yeah.
The dragon was a symbol of Arlington's strength.
There we go. All right. Okay, somebody had thought it through.
Monet, we might, and Kelly, I think it might be time to maybe consider like what we can do tonight. Do people want to vote and keep going with our agenda and stay a little later? Or do we need to kind of do 2 rounds of voting offline? Because we're at 8:45 right now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of up to the group. Do you want to stay on, do the voting tonight, have a little discussion, then do the second round next week, or do both rounds in the next week? Maybe.
Well, the thought was that we would vote tonight just to ones we want to put forward, And we were hoping to walk away with about 20, meaning that when we met on the 25th, that's when we narrowed it down to the 3 to 5 to put forward.
Yeah, and we would vote in between, basically from Monday to Thursday, the top 20 have people do dots of some sort,
Right.
or, some sort
Right.
of voting. So I just don't, I don't know how many people are able to stay on. So that's the question.
We
Yeah,
have 15 minutes about.
we could spend the last 15 minutes voting, I guess.
Right. I guess if anyone has a hard stop, please don't be shy to put your hand up, and we'll be respectful of that. My sense is I at least like to take a vote while this is fresh and we've had a good conversation.
Right.
And where we get at the end of that is if we have time for a discussion to say, okay, if you got this many yeses, you're forward or not. That may be something that we either take offline or move to the next meeting, but at least take the vote and let us look at the results tonight.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
that's in 15 minutes.
Yep.
I
Okay.
think we could do that pretty quick. Is that, if even if people could stay an additional 15 or 20, that might give enough time.
Yeah.
Okay, can I give a quick overview of the pool? I can do this quite quickly, I think. I think you've already seen it. Everybody has the link, and Claudia, maybe you could put the link in the chat again, just to, make sure. Before you start voting, you'll be asked, like when you click on something, it should have a little pop-up and you put your name in. All you have to do is click on this little green check mark to say yes, you want it to move forward. Essentially, that's what you're saying, that you want to keep that one in the running. Essentially, if you want to see what entry number it is, you can click on this. And another thing, if you prefer to do it this way, you can go kind of one by one, and this kind of scrolls through this way. Same thing, if you hover, the little check mark pops up, just another option for you. Probably the fastest way, frankly, is to scroll down, but in some cases you might want to click on it and enlarge it and make it a bit bigger. And then just a reminder that at the very bottom, I'm going to go down there. There is a second page. So make sure you go to the next page, click next or click last. There's only 2 pages. We were afraid of the load time if we put it all on one page, that it could affect people's, browsing. So we just put it on 2 pages. And again, all you have to do is click on the green check mark. You do not even have to click the little circle for no, because that's the default. And I think those are the key points. If people could take, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes to do their voting. And I would ask if anybody's having any technical issues, let us know. But I would advise using Chrome or Firefox probably, unless you have a really new version of Edge may be fine, IE if it's a really new one, although they're phasing that out. So, okay.
Okay,
My
awesome.
quick rundown.
Thank you.
Okay.
So are we breaking for 15 minutes and reconvening, or should we break for 10 and reconvene at 9, or what is the sense here?
I might recommend that you just leave the room open and people
Yeah.
go off and do it. And then if they have questions, Jennifer and Claudia will be here to answer.
Sure.
So people could, kind of do both.
Sure.
And that way this becomes a technical assistance room.
Sure.
And people
Yeah,
take
and
15.
maybe come back at 9:05.
Okay.
Perfect. All right.
So
Good luck, everyone.
Or not come back, but you know what I mean.
Put your camera
the
back on.
conversation.
Someone asked in the chat, and I'll just put this out here as well. There are no limits on how many you can say yes to. Vote however you feel. And then in a later round, we'll probably limit those yeses. But vote with your gut this night.
All right, I have a question. Where do we put our name in? Jennifer, are you there? Or Claudia?
You should have been asked at the very beginning for your name when you first went in. Were you not asked?
I did a login, but that's a name and password, so it's not that.
No, you shouldn't have to do
Hey,
a
I
name
had
and
to.
password.
It asks
Hey, I
the
had the
first
same
time you
issue.
cast a vote.
Pardon me?
Yeah, when you first vote, it'll pop up.
Oh, okay. All right, let me log out and try
Yeah,
that
the
again.
first time you might want to have to clear your cache or go to a different browser, Kelly, because you were in here earlier today. I don't know if that affected things. Yeah, and nobody should have to activate a login. All you do is get a little pop-up window and it asks for your name.
Okay, yeah, I'll get out because it's not asking. Okay, thanks.
Jennifer, I feel like you should play some music. You know? Little rocking music.
People are concentrating so hard.
Don't you have any good music you can put on?
It's all in the basement, and I'm upstairs. We have a ton of records. Little Rod Stewart, I don't know.
Let's see what can I find. That's perfect.
Was that better or not?
Keep it going. That's great.
Nice. Looks like we're missing one person. Let's see. Kelly, Ryan, Roy, Jen,
Just mute me when you need to talk.
I don't know if Whitney is still with us, but I do not see Whitney as having logged in. Whitney, are you with us? Let me see if Whitney is still in the room.
Whitney is on the guest list right now.
Whitney, I don't know if you can hear me, but it looks like I don't see you logged in into the voting tool.
Hi, I thought I was. Well, I'm trying to. Hold on.
If you're having any problem, you might try a different browser. Once you click on something, there should be a little pop-up where you put your name in. I don't know if you've clicked on any of the check boxes yet.
Well, hold on.
Not seeing your check marks.
There we go. You should in a sec. Oops.
And Kelly, I'm assuming you're you should not be Kelly the tester. You're just Kelly Reinfuse. Is that correct? Whitney, I see you in there now. Great.
Awesome.
And Kelly, should I take out the Kelly the tester? I think you have two logins here.
So there is no submission button, right?
That's right. That's right. And I don't think Charmaine was able to join us, so we've got 13 people voting this evening. I'm seeing everybody's votes come in. Oh, great. Some people are already done. Let's see. T is done. Jen, let's see. I'll check everybody else here. I will say I'm impressed with everybody's technical abilities too. Okay, Robbie's done.
And we're just missing Charmaine. So
yeah, she had a family issue and was not able to join tonight.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, there's 13 people and 13 have logged in. So let's see, JD's done. Let's see, Sada's done, Alberta's done, Alberta's done, Alberta's done. Looks like some of the folks who are finished have put their, just made a little comment in the chat that they're done. If others can do that, that's great. Looks like we've got about half are done and half still to go.
Is there, this is Mina, is there a way to sort of press something that says complete, or are we just going to
No,
chat
no,
and say
no.
I'm done?
You don't need to even do that. It captures it automatically.
All right. Okay. All right. Then I'm done. So I just put in the chat that I'm done.
All right.
Okay.
Great.
And
I'll
one
mark you
more
off.
question. So do we vote? You might have said that I missed it. I'm only doing the green. Should I also do the red? The one
No,
that I
you
don't
only
like?
have to do the green.
The green. Okay.
Yeah, basically the default is the little dot, is no or abstain. So all you have to do is check the green box if you want to keep it in the running.
I hear typing, and I also see votes being updated. So once everyone is done and hasn't gone back for second thoughts or anything, then we can look at the results together.
Okay, Justin's done. Let's see. Looks like we have about 4 people still working on their votes. Oh, Kelly's done. Make that 3. Okay.
So we can keep changing this until such a time as Claudia say you've now tabulated, and then we shouldn't make any changes?
Yeah, when everybody's done, we'll kind of stop it and close it, and we can take a look. It makes it so that you can't edit your responses anymore.
Right. Okay.
And I think we're getting close. We're at 9 o'clock and got just a few folks left. I see Ryan typing something. I bet he's typing he's done too.
Attempting to. It's not letting me submit it. Strange.
Did you
Oh,
click
there it is.
Oh, there you go. I saw it. Okay. Looks like I think we have 2 folks left.
Oh, I typed done a long time ago, but I just realized that it had not submitted until Ryan said something.
That's
so
all right.
Ryan now says submitted. Okay.
It looks like we still have Roy and Yasmina are still looking at them.
Okay.
Can Claudia see
Roy,
how
I
many
guess-
submissions she has?
Actually, Roy is done. Okay, never mind. Yasmina, are you still working? I don't know if Yasmina's still with us.
She hasn't said anything. Oh, this is why we should be meeting in person. We could all go out for a drink after all of this, right?
Actually, Yasmina might have had to drop off. I do not see her as active in here anymore.
Oh, so maybe she's gone.
Yeah, she had logged in, so it's possible she already, let's see.
Yeah, it looks like she had to leave. I see she's not here anymore. Did she do any voting?
Yeah, I believe she did. Let me just double check. Yeah, she has votes in here. Yep.
Sure. Then she's done what she needed to do.
By the way, she did. I just wish she was still on. She did such a fabulous job with that video. I loved it.
Absolutely, I agree.
It was great.
I wanted to say something. I forgot. Absolutely.
We'll tell her next week.
Yeah, it looks like she has. I can't 100% say she finished all her voting, but she definitely has votes in here.
Yeah.
So I think that means everybody is done.
Okay.
Claudia, did you want to bring it up, or you want me to kind of? We should probably close it and then show folks where we are.
Sure.
I'm ready to share.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
And I don't. Were you able to close it already? If not, I can.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Let me close it. I'll be right there. It shouldn't take long.
Drum roll. Drum roll. Drum roll. Come on.
All right.
All right.
Let's see it.
Nice.
There it is.
Okay, this is not the screen I
Can you make
wanted.
it bigger so everyone can see it?
Sure. This isn't it. Sorry, everyone. Okay. Where did you go? Talk amongst yourselves. I think when it closes, it goes to a different menu. So let me find it.
Yeah,
and I'll
right
be
at the top.
Yeah.
See where it says close? There's a little toggle. Yeah.
And here we go. All right. So we have two, what they like to call clear winners. We don't have to call it that, but basically 259B and 244C are the ones that got the most votes, and I have them right here. So 259, do we say B? Yes,
I don't know if it's
259B.
easier. You could show the image view too. I don't know if, I'm not sure that's might be a little easier. But there you go. Okay, you can click on it too.
Anyway, so 259B got 10 votes, as did, do not like this view, 244C. So these both got, pretty similar imagery actually, but they both got 10 votes. The runners up, a lot of them got 7 votes, and then 6. So then it was pretty close in terms of how many votes these others got.
Hey, Claudia, you might click on images on the left-hand side. I don't know if that display might be easier.
Go to vote. I think if you go to votes.
No, it's images. This kind of gives you a little bit more of a visual of what the items are. And you can click sort by ratings. Click the little word ratings. There you go. And the highest will go, and you can kind of give a little bit of it shows a little thumbnail of what, just one more time, click.
So my internet just got back from a little nap, so it's taking its time, but
there we go. Okay, oh, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
So Bridges didn't totally win, which is interesting after the heated debate, but people did talk about the simplicity of different designs, and that's okay, well, I guess this won't full screen, but that seems to show through in the ones that were, oh goodness, chosen in the end. All right, the thumbnails don't get bigger. So the simple A, which if we could open this up, does have a little.
Click on it, I think it opens as well.
Well, I had the image up from my file anyway, but so this one does have some bridge imagery a little bit, which which isn't like explicitly a
but
bridge.
It could be anything. It could be the sun. It could be, you know what I mean? It could be a bridge.
Yeah.
So if I could just interject, I think you have about you're 7 minutes over a minute, and Kelly, maybe what you might want to do is just have a quick conversation about where do you want to kind of cut off in terms of the number of votes so that we can set up the next poll so you guys can narrow it down even further.
Right. So what would bring us, just out of curiosity, what would bring us to the top 10? How many votes is that? If we go down to the top 10?
So top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So
and that's who had 6 votes. And how many others had 6 votes?
Yeah, maybe top 11.
Top 11 had 6 votes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, Kelly. We could just sort of talk about the top 10, or we could talk about the top 20, and then have people vote on the top 20.
Yeah, okay, so we see where 10 is. Let's see where 15 is and where 20 is.
Yeah, okay, let's go to 15.
And the reason I'm saying that is, like, if there's multiple in one category tied, then we may cut it up or down.
Right, right. Mm-hmm. So 15 is up to like 6 votes each?
I think so. And I'm sorry, I have to reshare my view. Hold on a second.
Sure, no problem. You're doing a great job, Claudia. Thank you for doing this so quickly and so wonderfully.
It looks like JD has a question, maybe?
Yes, JD.
Yes, I did have a question. So just refresh my memory here. Once we get to our 10, 5, or whatever, are we going to do a poll in the community just to get the take, even though it may not weigh as heavy, but just to see where the public's at? based upon when we narrow it down to like 10 or 5. You know, you remember when they something
Yeah.
we did that with the names?
Yeah, exactly.
We
Not at this time.
we
Excuse
will
me?
be doing that. After the design firm rounds, after we go back and forth with them, we will present 3 to 5.
Gotcha.
Their
I'm
input.
solid. I'm solid. Excuse me, it's late. Got it. Totally agree. Thought you. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay.
So,
So we
Claudia,
have the top 15, and let's see the top 20.
Sorry, can you go back to where the 15 were? I didn't see where that break was. What's the last one in 15?
It was like at 6, but there we go, at 6 votes.
You could.
161 was number 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and that's at 4 votes.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, the top 15, I would even say the top 20. I don't know what, you know, and this is a decision for the whole panel to make if you're comfortable. Maybe we just take the top 10 for now.
Well,
I think there's a clear distinction. Like, there's so many 4s. Maybe it doesn't have to be a round number, but break it at 5 votes because there's so many 4s that broadens it way too much.
But so that one, the last one that's at 5 votes, what number is that, Claudia?
You said the last one with 5 votes?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, it's
62.
62.
It's what? Yes. How does that rank in terms of votes? If you go from number 62 to the top one, how many do we have there?
You mean like, is this number 20 or is this number 15?
Right.
Just count up. Count that as 1 and count up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's number 14.
Okay,
so
14.
let's say the top 15. Let's say 15 then.
Well, you can't do that because you've got multiple ties at 4. So you either have to include the next that all. How many received 4? Because those are all tied.
Yeah.
So you either
So
break
should we
it at
just say the
5
top
votes
14?
or 4 votes.
Then we just say the top 14.
8 received 4, I believe.
Yeah.
That's
then
correct.
let's just say the top 14.
Okay, so it's 14 in the top, or if we go down to the next level, it's 22.
I like top 14.
Yeah, and then we say anybody that received 5 votes or more moves forward.
I like it.
Yeah.
So then, okay, top 14, anyone that received 5 votes or more. How we have options for doing the next round of voting. We could use dots. Use the same tool basically, but people get a certain number of dots that they can allocate. We could do it that way. Maybe you get, 10 dots or 5 dots, and we narrow it down. You could narrow it to 10, and then we finish the, next week could be bringing it to 5.
Maybe it is better to vote between now and next week to bring it down to 10, and then we bring it down to 5 after a discussion next week.
If that's the case, I would bump it to the number 4s. So let's say we walk away today with 22 entries, everyone that's received 4 or more votes, with the goal of when we come to next meeting, we said, okay, here out of that voting that we did offline, here are the top 10 contenders that we will discuss which ones go forward to the design group. And maybe we'll see big clusters then or not, and in which case we'll have to have more discussion, but.
Do you think that next week is realistic to bring it from 10 to 5? I mean, I don't feel strongly. I think it probably is.
I think so, but with a caveat is we need to give the design firm direction on the 5 that we're giving them.
Yeah.
For example, and I'm not saying there only has to be one bridge. If it's the top 3 are bridges, then so be it. But if we do need to have a little bit of discussion on direction, as we say to them, we love the font on this. We like that this one's more abstract. We like, you know what I'm saying? So that does need to have a bit of, I think we can do it, but we have to have time to have that discussion.
You could also give people 10 dots, and instead of allocating one per, they could also put multiple dots on a design, which could actually help you narrow it even more a little bit.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's very American Idol of us.
Jen has a question or a comment.
So my concern, I don't know if concern is the right word, let's say we take the top 22, which I would be in favor of rather than the narrow one, they're going to fall into categories because I can see that my favorite, the hearts, different versions got votes. So we might have 2 in the top 22 that are heart logos, and we might have 3 that are bridge. And so even those 22 votes, it might not be 22 concepts ultimately. So I think until you look through them and see if they have mini clusters where we probably wouldn't move forward two different heart ones or 2 different bridge ones, or maybe not 4 different. I think they're going to kind of combine into little clusters, and that the next round of voting might include voting not on single concepts, but on thematic concepts.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great point. And we want to make sure that whatever we end up with today, that we can have a way of sort of saying, I really like the heart concept, and there are 3 heart concepts. So you're not splitting your vote between 3 concepts that you like equally, but you're saying, here's the heart concept. Because we know that the design firm will then create some amalgamation of all of them. Right. That will be good. So I'm not very sure how to do that, but maybe after tonight, we see what the top 20 are, and then we see whether we can put those in different in categories.
Right.
So that between now and next week, we're voting on those particular categories. So we can vote for the concept or something.
I don't know. Let me just pose this a different way, maybe perhaps. Like, I think discussion should be on category, but also individual design. For example, if there's 5 hearts, but one is clearly always the favorite out of them, that makes sense to move forward. If there's 3 bridges that are tied on bridges, that's when I think we have a discussion as what the direction for a bridge is. So to get there, I think if we go with our 22 here, vote offline in the next week, come to the next meeting with 10, like here's a number, here's where the results are, the 10. Discussion becomes on those 10. And to your point, Renee, 5 of them might be bridges and 3 of them might be hearts. So it might be a shorter discussion, or we could still evaluate it on its merit. Like, for example, you had some bridges that were abstract and some that were very literal. I think both of those could be contenders to put forward. Just a thought.
Yeah, with 10 dots, it gives people a little bit of room to, if they really, really like hearts, then, they could vote on both hearts, or maybe there's one that they prefer. We still have to narrow it from 10 to 5. So if hearts is a strong contender, we could still do that.
So Jennifer, the 10 dots, you have the ability to put all 10 on one, or only one per? Just curious.
I think there are options, but I'm pretty sure you can put multiple. If we choose to set it up that way, we can have. Everybody could put all 10 dots on one design. Yes, we can set it up that way.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it that way. I'd just be curious, I guess, to see, and maybe we can look at it now with the entries that are there. I'm just concerned that if you have very similar entries that are in the top contenders, for example, 2 or 3 or 4 that are just hearts, different types of hearts that are in the top contenders, which means that most of us like hearts. But then we're dividing our votes between the 4 of them, which means that they all fall down because they're being divided amongst all 4 of them, that we end up with a cardinal because there was only one cardinal, as opposed to the hearts where we had 4 hearts that we all liked. I'm not sure how to resolve that issue.
From what I could tell, if hearts is I don't know if the hearts is the measure.
This is example.
I'm just using it as a random example.
Yeah,
not
I
that I think that's what's going on.
I'm just kind of looking to see how much commonality we have. There's a couple bridges. Let's see, two what I would call firm bridges. It's actually a fairly diverse set.
Okay.
Let me see if I can. I don't know if there's a way I can.
Are you clicking through the top 22 right now? Is that what we're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, we could
Okay.
look at all those really fast if people are interested. And just Claudia, you could just pull them up really fast from that one. If you go back to poll unit and just click on them from the top 22, we could do that pretty quick.
Yeah. Let's take a look. Let's see, just out of curiosity.
Okay, so I can open each image in a new tab. So starting with this one.
Okay.
I think if you click on the words, it just opens it too, and then you can X out.
If you click on the words, it opens up and you see who voted on what. I don't know if you want to show that or just straight to the image.
Yeah, go to the image.
So there's like a couple bridges, yeah. Two hearts. It's kind of a diverse set of designs.
I think it's a good mix that after we vote offline and come back, they'll fall into categories, and we may put two bridges forward in a something else. Or I'm not against putting. I don't think it has to be 5 concepts if there's 5 good designs. I'm kind of more about put out the best design. And please remember that these are going out to the community, and we have to feel good about the 5 that we put forward, because anything could end up.
Right. Actually, now that I've seen the variety, I'll withdraw my concern. I think it'll be fine.
So Jennifer and Claudia, do you have enough direction to take this forward and come back to the group with next steps on Monday?
Yes, the next steps we'll send by email, and it'll be a similar voting by dot.
Okay. Renee and I can get together with you offline.
10 dots? Is that what it's going to be? Like everybody gets 10 dots?
Yeah, it'll be through the same tool, and you just click at the bottom the number of dots that you want, if that works for you guys.
Sure, that sounds good. And you give them to put everything in 1 dot if they want, or to divide it.
We could do it that way,
we'll send out all the instructions, and because we'll need to sort out the exact specific way we'll go about it.
Just real quick, I want to recognize there's a couple hands up, so I don't know if they're still up, but Jennifer, you had a hand. Jen?
Sorry, I just forgot to lower it.
Okay. And then I think that's JD.
JD had a hand up too.
Yeah, I just want to, I know we're about to leave, but we're talking about keeping these images simple. I'm just, as ARL with the heart, and I like the hearts, I'm just trying to envision this. Just something to think about. This could be a flag. I mean, right? This is what we're talking about. I think we're gonna have to be creative, and but I'm just finding it hard to see Arlington on a flag written out. Just for what it's worth, y'all. Okay.
Kelly, can I just share really fast before?
Oh, sure. Sorry, that was supposed to be me at the end. Go for it, Jen.
Yeah, no. If you want to I just wanted to show people kind of where we are and just next meetings coming up, just to make sure they kind of had it all. And hopefully you can see my screen now. And JD, this is where you were asking about, the public and how they're going to be involved. So As you can see, we have a aggressive timeline.
We got it.
And we'll send out directions by Monday and ask people to vote by next, I think, Wednesday night in time for our Thursday meeting.
Yeah.
Good.
You guys have done a ton of work tonight, so give yourselves a hand.
Yeah, we're
Thank
gonna go get
you.
yourself a
Thank
cocktail.
you. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Well,
You
thank you,
guys
everyone.
should
It's
feel
been a
really
great
good. You went
discussion.
from 190 to 22. Is that where you landed?
Yeah.
Well, let's
Feel
give
good
us
about
full
that.
credit. We went from what, 280 to 22?
Yeah.
The subcommittee did work too, so.
Yeah.
Are you feeling good? Is everyone walking away feeling good?
I mean, I think that we basically discussed most of the things, and I'm also curious, are there people who feel that there's something that they would have wanted to see at the end that they did not see at the end, or do we all really feel that
Talked about the
our
same.
concerns were taken into consideration and etc.?
We don't want to put you on the spot. If you want to send an email and say, you know what, I want to
Yeah.
use my lifeline or my save, speak up.
Right. Should I put you on the spot, JD? Are you okay with the way the things came out?
I'm going to say this. I believe that if we are too simple, it's going to open it up to imagination to run wild in another 10 years, because it's just there's not enough there to provoke long-term, a long-term presence. So it's just good to be simple, but I just think we had enough there to present something a bit more creative than the top two. But let's see what things land out at,
Okay. Roy, you wanted to say something.
So I was hoping, my background is we do this for a living. Like we run a digital agency, and the common mistake we see with entrepreneurs or people like starting a company want to do a logo, they go completely abstract and they forget they're not Nike. So they don't have enough budget to bring brand awareness for Nike and for Mercedes or all those stuff. So I loved how kind of like intuitively navigated to brand for someone who doesn't know Arlington at all, and they will see us, they understand us. Then they see Virginia, they position us. And then we could add always that element of creative that JD mentioned, or people we mentioned, like the bridge, the logo, the abstract within the clarity. So this way we can get positioned and start getting known more and more for a first time audience versus someone who already knows what Arlington is.
Right.
Good point.
2 cents.
Okay. Yeah. Linda, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing is, if you all remember that Boston logo from a few weeks ago, they had a couple variations too. So to get to the points that Roy just made and also JD, we might think about a logo that is versatile enough and have a variation for, say, the flag versus the stationery. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And we can look for a few more examples. I think you remember they had the big B sometimes, but then the B with a line, or, so to get to both of those points, we may consider down the line something that has a slight variation also.
Okay. Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Jen, you want to say something too?
Yeah, just to, Linda, I agree with everything that's been said by JD and by Roy. And Linda, thank you, because what I was going to say is I really hope you and your team will entertain the option that the right logo is none of the above, that it will have been inspired by what was submitted, but that your team will then take this conversation, take the ideas that this committee seems to gravitate towards, and plow new ground that we might not have seen yet. And I hope that's not off the table.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to caution people about, say, there was one that had 3 elements with the A and the bridge and the dogwood and the something else. We don't necessarily, you may rule that out because you're thinking it's too many elements, but we could just take that A with the bridge or whatever. So we want to think about that as well, that we don't want to necessarily rule something out that then we can tweak, to get rid of whatever is bothering you or not quite working.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's gonna be real value added to have you here to be able to actually do that sort of thing for us. And now that you've been wonderful enough to listen to this whole conversation, that you can sort of take the conversation that you've heard and apply it and sort of hopefully come up to what it is that we're really looking for.
Agree. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody's hard work tonight too. I want to reiterate that.
Yay.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah. Raina, I'm jealous because you look like you're at the beach.
Oh yeah, I went to the beach while you guys were talking.
Oh.
All right, I think we've got through everybody's questions. Unless the coachers have anything else.
Oh wait, hey Raina, I'm at the beach with you. Good to see you. Where are you? Okay, bye everyone. Have a good night.
Oh, there you are, Kelly.
There we go. Okay.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you very much, everybody.
you,
This was a great meeting. I think we achieved a lot. Roy, did you have something to say before we end?
Just thank you, everyone. And bye.
Okay.
I was just waving.
Thanks, Roy.
All right. Okay.
Bye. Bye.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Jennifer hang up. Oh, Jennifer. Oh, it's just you and I. All right, Jennifer hung up. I thought she would be on. Oh, well. Okay. Well, good night.